Hello and welcome to this edition of the O State Report. We're glad you're with us. I'm Nate Belt.
And I'm Alli Brooks. We all know that at OSU we have a high-profile football program. Many students come to OSU to study engineering, and our vet school is one of the top in the country.
But did you know that the university has just as much to offer in their hotel, restaurant, and administration program? They've hosted an event to showcase just how prestigious the program is. Here's Julia Benbrook with more. In less than 1 month, over 80,000 people will flood the streets of the OSU campus for homecoming. The excitement includes the walkarounds, all-night pomp, homecoming and hoops, and of course the football game against West Virginia. You may want to hear how the plans are going for this year's celebration. Amelia Henderson sat down with homecoming steering to discuss the events.
Cardinals left fielder Matt Holliday saluted the crowd after hitting a home run in his last at-bat with a winning score of 10-4. His brother, OSU coach Josh Holliday, is full speed ahead in his career as he gets the Cowboy baseball team ready for the season. From Omaha back to Alli P. Reynolds Stadium, there's quite a bit of work to do. I sat down with Coach Holliday to talk about what this year looks like for the team.
OSU softball ended last season with an overall record of 32-26. The team started their fall season last week and beat Cowley County 13-1, but that wasn't the only game they played.
The players are receiving some friendly advice from athletes just like them. Austin Ivan has more.
We're 8 weeks into the semester, so if you're a student at OSU, chances are you have midterms coming up. What are some ways to relieve stress and get your mind off the chaos? The union is providing a more colorful way to improve mental health. I sat down with students who experienced it firsthand to find out more.
That's our time for this week on the O State Report. I'm Alli Brooks.
And I'm Nate Belt. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on O State TV.
Hello, and welcome to this edition of O State Report. We're glad you're with us. I'm Austin Ivan.
And I'm Julia Benbrook. In one of the most crucial election years, people in the United States are more torn than ever. Talk of Benghazi, email scandals, and a video discussing sexual assault are a few hot topics when it comes to the next president of America. According to the New York Times, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are two candidates with the lowest approval ratings in recent U.S. history.
With so many public opinions surfacing in the polls, how can one be sure to get the correct information about both of them? Staying educated when it comes to voting is imperative to the election process. But is every source as credible as they make themselves out to be? Nate Belt has more on what you need to know before you vote.
In less than 1 month, we will know which candidate won the presidential election.
It goes without saying, this isn't a normal election year, and these aren't your typical presidential candidates.
Alli Brooks has her thoughts on this edition of I'm Just Saying. If you've been on campus the last couple of years, you've noticed the construction on the Atherton Hotel. The wait is over to see the final project, and the Atherton is open for business once again. It was important to those in charge to keep the history of the hotel intact, as they have made multiple renovations. General Manager Josh Bernard says he has not heard a negative report from a guest yet. I sat down with Josh to hear all about the changes in this historic boutique hotel.
When you're dedicating a generous amount of time in the classroom, it can be easy to overlook the small details behind making a good first impression. What happens when it's time to show your professionalism at a formal dinner if you hadn't had any training on the appropriate way to act? OSU hosted an event for this very cause, and I got the chance to sit down at a 4-course dinner to learn the etiquette tips you need to impress your potential employers. Well, that's our time for this week on the O State Report. I'm Austin Ivan.
And I'm Julia Benbrook. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week on O State TV.
Hello, and welcome to this edition of O State Report. We're glad you're with us. I'm Austin Ivan.
And I'm Amelia Henderson. It was the Super Bowl of politics, the most watched presidential debate in history.
You likely watched the debate on TV or on YouTube. as Democrat presidential nominee Hillary Clinton and Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump went head-to-head in the first of 3 debates Monday night. The candidates discussed and argued over topics such as economy, race relations, and national security.
And just in case you were wondering, the next debate in the series is the vice presidential debate on October 4th. And Clinton and Trump will meet again in the next presidential debate on October 9th. One of the key target audiences of the presidential candidates is the college age of students. Our Julia Benbrook sat in on a debate watch party and has more on how the university is trying to get more students involved in the election. Julia?
Now that the first debate is over, you likely notice the current buzz about the upcoming elections is increasing. But talking is one thing, voting is another. As of the last presidential election, college-age students and people between the ages of 18 to 24 were the least likely to register to vote. OSU is making efforts to ensure the involvement of students in this year's election, starting with this week's debate.
So Julia, can you tell us what the students' take was on the debate?
Right, well, it was very interesting because Payne County actually voted in favor of Bernie Sanders and Ted Cruz during the primary election. And so everyone's still trying to figure out where they stand on these issues and who they want to vote for.
With the debate lasting over 90 minutes, were students' tendency to leave or did they stay the whole time?
Most people actually stuck around. I know I actually spoke to an international student from France, and she stayed until the very end because she said this decision would impact her just as much as it would everyone else.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Julia.
Of course, thank you.
The talk of Twitter is the most watched presidential debate in history. A record-breaking 84 million people tuned in to watch, and a lot of those are chiming in on social media.
We went through Twitter just to find what a good example was said. Jacob tweeted that Hillary won because she responded with clear answers on what her plans were, like any normal, strong, intelligent candidate would do.
Joe tweeted that he's heard a lot of how Hillary looks like a rehearsed politician, and people are tired of it. Evan tweeted that our country needs better and more deserved than what the 2 major party candidates offer.
Playing bingo during the presidential debate isn't the only event the school has planned. OSU actually has an entire week devoted to getting students involved in the elections.
And Vote Week in Oklahoma is like Oklahoma State's way of saying you should register to vote. And this week that included talking politics and eating pie. And here's Alli Brooks with more. If you're one of the thousands of students who pays for college through federal loans, you may want to hear about the changes made for the free application for federal student aid, better known as FAFSA. I sat down with undergraduate admissions to find out how these changes could affect your application.
A former NFL and OSU football player is back in Stillwater, and he's using his skills as an athlete to motivate others. But not in the way you might expect. I sat down with Javon Langford to find out which sport he uses to teach men and women of all ages. And that's our time this week on O State Report. I'm Austin Ivan.
And I'm Amelia Henderson. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you next time on O State TV.